and Steve Rose is our practice manager, and he's going to take us through a bit of a case study of a recent customer where we have built a data platform on Snowflake for them. The approach we took to that project, the architecture we used, some of the assets we have to kind of make that a very successful project. We won't be mentioning the customer's name in this session just because we haven't yet got all the approvals to make them a full case study, but it'll be pretty obvious as soon as they agree to all of that, because we'll be obviously putting that out there as well. But they're in the financial sector in Australia and New Zealand. So with that, I'll pass over to Steve to walk through the discussion about that customer implementation, and I'll pop back when we get to the Iris section.
Hello, welcome everyone. Thank you very much, Julian, for the intro. Appreciate that. So as Julian's mentioned, we're not in a position to share the name of the client, so we're referring to it as Acme. So they reached out to us early last year, and they were looking to sort of uplift their data landscape and analytics platform. We began the journey with them with an initial analysis phase where we did, we looked at the technology, the processes, the state of the data, how it was being managed, what business value was being derived, even looking at skills, capabilities, enterprise architecture and things like that. Based upon all of that, which is essentially almost a bit of a data maturity sort of assessment, based on all of that, we put together a recommendation to the client and for a pathway forward. Essentially, the key challenges that they had with what they had in place was it was over-engineered. Let's say it wasn't intentionally over-engineered. It was sort of an architecture that had evolved sort of more tactically rather than strategically, which, as anyone who's worked in IT will know, that those sorts of decisions do sort of come back and bite you a little bit later on. And it had led to ultimately a lot of complexity, a lot of unnecessary complexity in their analytics platform. They had, we say low data quality. It's not that the platform was necessarily introducing data quality errors, it's that the source systems that push data quality issues into the platform were difficult to remediate because of the complexity of the environment, which unavoidably meant that some data quality issues did end up sort of passing through to the consumption layer. Scalability issues, as you would expect with a system that was sort of somewhat over-engineered and not really meeting the needs of the business, were present. So it was no longer sort of deemed as being the strategic platform for the client anymore. So the recommendation and really what the client was asking for, so the objective was to build a more modern, scalable data platform. Their existing data platform, I forgot to mention, by the way, was all sort of on-premises as well, so it was all SQL Server VM-based. We took a phased approach, just high level, 3 phases. First phase was let's put the core infrastructure in place. The second phase was, well, let's migrate the data that you have in your existing platform and so forth into the new environment. And then the last phase was to focus more on the delivering some use cases to the business. Key decisions made along the way. Data Vault 2.0 was chosen, and an automation tool that was chosen to support in the modeling and deployment of Data Vault code was Iris. Key features of the platform that was delivered: data ingestion, so it's a metadata driven ingestion framework, so heavily templated and reusable. Working for structured and unstructured data, centralized logging, monitoring. You'll see in a moment, there's a slide a little bit later on where we share sort of all the Snowflake components. Business ready data. So in this particular engagement, we did deploy a data lake and lakehouse. We also delivered a CI/CD framework as well, and a new way of working that sort of accompanied that. And finally, a data quality framework, which is integrated at various points in the solution as well. So the strategic outcomes: operational efficiency, improved data quality, scalability, and business value. The client was satisfied with what was delivered, so much so that we were actually invited to come back and support the client on another project that we were able to reuse the solution. It was effectively a migration. It's a finance company that had acquired another finance book, and they were looking for a solution to support the acquisition and migration of that data into the systems at the client. So we were able to reuse this solution as well. So there's sort of two use cases, if you like, for the one client. Next slide, please, Alex. Thank you. So if we have a look at data platforms in general, for people that have been in the industry for a while, over the last sort of 10 years, there's been a huge strides in new technologies, new ways of doing things, new methodologies, frameworks, platforms, etc., etc. And yet, despite all of that and all the literature and everything else that there is around it, statistics sort of show that odds are against you that you're actually going to realize all the promises that are made initially in the business case to move forward with a data platform. I've got a couple of references there. They're not strictly related to data platforms, but they are adjacent, so it does give you an idea that many data platform projects generally do fall short of their ROI and their initial promises that they lay out. I'm going to confess, I did get this list off of ChatGPT when I was putting the slide together, but I have put some exclamation marks against the ones that I felt were probably more common in terms of what Ignition has faced. So aligning data lake and data warehouse strategies. I think our experience is a lot of organizations will sort of gravitate to the new shiny technology without really fully understanding or appreciating what the implications of that are, operationally and long term. And I think it often leads to an architecture that's perhaps not quite as suited as what is believed to be initially. Fragmented data sources, we see this an awful lot. And generally what the most common things that we see is that, we need to pull data from a data source. We have no control over it, no ability to influence it. Data's poor quality. We can't, like what you get is what you get. You can't do anything about it. And the general rule of crap in, sort of crap out is very much applicable here. So if we're looking for sort of shiny bells and whistles as an outcome, but we've got crap data coming in, it kind of undermines the value proposition of a data platform. Is very common. Shortage of that last exclamation point is supposed to be on the underestimating future growth, not under shortage of skilled professionals. So underestimating future growth is also a common one, because we generally it's like, well, what do you need today? How do you size your platform? And today's needs are often sort of used as a way of gauging how to scale your platform. The challenge is that we're only ever getting more data, more systems, more data, more reporting, more analytics, more. So we really need to be thinking about today times 3 to 5 in order to have a platform that's going to, deliver on its ROI. Could I have the next slide, please, Alex? Thank you. So apologies, this is a bit of a busy slide, but we do have, so what we've essentially deployed at the client, the Acme client, is what we call Launchpad. And we designed Launchpad at Ignition about almost a couple of years ago. And it essentially sort of comprises of 6 components. At the list on the right-hand side, I'll go in a logical order. So every data platform sort of begins, if you like, with ingestion. With Launchpad, we focused on making it fast, streamlined, templated, metadata-driven. We wanted to try to make it as easy and repeatable as possible to ingest data in. So we didn't want lengthy development timelines to develop new pipelines to bring data in. So if we had, for example, a source with JSON data or CSV, we would create a template for JSON or for CSV, or even a direct database connection. We also have patterns for CDC and things like that. That effectively we can just reuse, put in some metadata, and it will bring that data in. So it's actually very quick, very easy to bring new data into the platform. We have the data lake, which is a structured and unstructured data repository. Within the context of Launchpad overall, the data lake can be viewed as well as a persistent staging area. So it does have things like tracking changes in the data over time. It looks for duplication. It types the data and so on and so forth. We also have the concept of coarse, as in the raw files, polished and prepared. So polished is effectively source aligned, cleaned data that could be used just straight out of polished. And in fact, you'll see an arrow through to consumption, so that we can serve that data through to the consumption layer if needed. We then have the lakehouse, which is where we have the higher warranty data, if you like, higher quality curated data. So if I look at the lake and the lakehouse together, the lake is more around sort of lower warranty. I just want access to the data. Give me the data. I'm going to analyze it myself. I'm sure we've all worked at organizations where you've got a lot of business users that are pretty nifty with Excel and just say, give me the data, I'm going to analyze it myself. So this is where you would serve that data out of the lake and say, there's the data. We don't offer any warranty on what you do with it, but we do offer warranty on the data itself. Whereas in the lakehouse, this is more like, I want my board report or my C-suite level report. I want consistent KPIs, consistently applied business rules to derive metrics and so on and so forth, forecasting, whatever, is all done through the lakehouse. All the integration rules, reference data, et cetera, are all done through there. So we look at it in terms of, faster speed to value from the data lake. You get your data quickly, but you have to do more with it. You have to craft whatever value you want to out of it yourself, but you get the data into the lake quick, you can get the data out of the lake quick, but it's lower warranty. The lake house provides more robust, consistent data with rules that are consistently applied. And this is repeatable over and over and over again. So we call that high warranty data. And then we move into the consumption layer. So these are effectively a set of data products, information assets and so forth that are ready for consumption from whatever downstream service or business users require. So those are, I guess, are the main sort of data components, and there's a couple of other components that are almost like supporting components. So we've got tooling. So in our tooling and out at our Acme client, we delivered a data quality framework that also was able to be leveraged as a test automation framework as well. Continuous integration and deployment, and orchestration and control framework as well. And then lastly, governance. So we have very good accountability through all the phases of the system. We do have lineage capabilities within the system as well. And we've designed the system so that it is able to be scanned by common data governance tools like Purview, for example, so that it is possible to derive some end-to-end lineage across the system. Thanks, Alex. If I could have the next slide. So in terms of the Launchpad, so when we designed it, we had some key principles that we had to sort of follow in the design. One was to make it value driven. What we were seeing was that there was a trend, a little bit of a trend away from the big sort of data warehouse type engagements where clients say we need a data warehouse. You would say, oh, it's this amount of money. Clients would say, well, it's a lot up front. Is there a leaner version or a light version or a more affordable way to sort of get your foot on the ladder? And so we wanted to make it value driven. So i.e. we say, well, depending upon what your needs are of today, we can put in place whatever we need to from a Launchpad perspective to be able to deliver that outcome. And then if that's accepted and you then win the right to do more, you say, okay, well, now we implement another component, or we'll do this, or we'll do that. So it wasn't like a big bang approach. It was more of a, let's implement what we need to, when we need to do it, to try to spread. I mean, ultimately, we all know that the cost is the cost. If you need, a system that's this big, but you want to start out that small, eventually you're going to consume all that spend anyway. It's just effectively spreading it out instead of having that upfront cost. We wanted it to be scalable, so we made it cloud-based, and that's what we delivered for our ACME clients. It's all based in the cloud. And also the design, we wanted it where possible, and it's difficult to be completely technology agnostic because in some areas, some of those areas, there are so few technologies that an organization would go to. So can't guarantee it's completely technology agnostic, but where possible, we've tried to make it, that design, be able to be sort of lifted and shifted across different cloud providers. And we have a bit of an ecosphere as well. So we didn't want to just deliver some tooling, and we didn't just want to deliver some methodologies and some platforms and so forth. We wanted to try to deliver a full solution, which is everything from underpinning technologies to methodologies to the approach, the way of working, testing, all that sort of stuff, so that we can literally help an organization go from zero to hero very, very quickly. The key benefits: enhanced data quality and trust through the accountability in the system, the traceability, the lineage, the data quality, and the automated testing and CI/CD. The end result is that you've got a data platform that has much higher quality data, is faster to deliver value, and build trust within the client, within the business. Accelerate time to insight, because we can serve data out of the data lake. So if a business user comes to us and says, I'm thinking on developing something around or designing something around blah 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 blah, you say, well, okay, here's the data out of the data lake. They grab it, they manage the data however they want, and they produce something. And if everyone likes it and they say, yeah, that's great, we can deliver that out. We can then deliver that through the lakehouse so that it's robust and repeatable and so on and so forth. So we believe that we're kind of serving two types of customers: the ones that just say, "Give me the data, I want access to it quick, and I want it now," versus the other type of customer, which is just give me the reports that enable me to make my operational decisions. Innovation enablement, and that's really where serving the data out of the lake does actually promote and capitalize on innovation across your organization, and supports the rapid prototyping of reports and other data products. Flexibility and adaptability. Because we have a lake and a lake house, it gives you the benefits of both. The architecture overall is very modular. The idea being that you only implement the components that you need to. So if you only, for example, if you're an organization very early on in the journey, let's say on the lower end of the maturity scale, you're looking to have a couple of basic reports to start you off with, then you might say, well, let's just do the ingestion in the data lake and the consumption. Let's not worry about the lake house just yet. As the needs grow and we need to look at integration rules and other sort of complex rules that need to be put in place, then you say, okay, we'll scale it out to a lake house, and so on. So it really can be started out as simple, and then moving it along, and maturing it quickly. If I could have my last slide, Alex. Thank you. So with our Acme client, we kicked off, as I mentioned earlier on, with a data maturity assessment. Ignition effectively helps organizations enhance their data platforms. We try to help businesses unlock the true potential of their data. And we like to kick that process off with a data maturity assessment, just make sure that we create clarity in terms of what the current situation is, and it enables the client and us to make more informed decisions moving forward. So if a data maturity assessment is something that you think would be of value at any of your organizations, for those who are listening, there's a link in the slide deck below. And that's it from me. Thank you very much.